Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome once again to Stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned. Because it's Wednesday, that means it's Epic Comic Book Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we'll talk about a certain comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. Steve Donoghue over on his channel will talk about the same comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. It's our world's finest team up that we do once a week. And this week is particularly exciting because we're going back to the early 1960s, where we witnessed the return of one of the greatest superheroes of all time. My favorite Marvel superhero, in fact, of course, I'm talking about Captain America. You would never have guessed that I was talking. We're talking about Captain America. And the story I'm talking about can be found in this collection. This is the Captain America Epic Collection Volume 1, Captain America Lives Again. And this whole book, I think I've talked about. I think this is one of the first Epic Comic Wednesdays. I think you were still hiding in your tomb at that time when I talked about this book, Roger. But today we're taking a closer look at Captain America's first appearance in the 1960s, or his first official appearance anyway. We'll get to that. So, of course, Captain America was a very popular Golden Age superhero. He was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, and he first showed up in this fantastic comic book, Captain America issue number 1. This is the one where Captain America decks Hitler. Yeah, that was awesome. So, Captain America issue number 1, written by Joe Simon and illustrated by Jack Kirby. And this was a very popular comic book in the 1940s. It fell away from popularity after the war. And Captain America made a brief appearance in the 1950s, but it was not successful. Superheroes in general had a hard time in the 1950s, for the most part. And Captain America went away again. That Captain America was retconned to be an impostor Captain America, which we'll see more of, because Captain America made his return. And he made his return, oddly enough, in Strange Tales, in a way. So Strange Tales was a comic book that starred at this time the Human Torch. And in this issue of Strange Tales, issue number 114, from out of the golden age of comics into the Marvel age, Captain America returns to challenge the Human Torch. So Captain America returns to challenge the Human Torch? That's pretty exciting. But there's something wrong with this Captain America. He can't seem to get his costume right. And in fact, it turns out that this is an imposter. It's not the real Captain America. And Captain America in this version is up to some shenanigans and gets in a fight with the Human Torch. And yeah, it turns out it's an imposter. But what Stan Lee was kind of doing was saying, hey, let's test the waters here. Let's see if people want Captain America to return. So Captain America was a character that Stan Lee liked and wanted to bring back. And he finally got the chance to bring Captain America back, because this is after the Fantastic Four number 1. We've got the Marvel Universe going. We've got superheroes starting to become popular again. And it was the perfect time to bring Captain America back. And he was brought back in the Avengers. The Avengers issue number 4, Captain America Lives Again. And so this is the issue we are going to talk about today. It starts off with this wonderful splash page where Captain America takes his place in the ranks of the Avengers. A tale destined to become a magnificent milestone in the Marvel Age of Comics. This was true. Bringing you the great superhero which your wonderful avalanche of fan mail demanded. I guess there was an avalanche of fan mail. I hope nobody was hurt. But people demanded this guy come back. At the bottom of this splash page, there's an editor's note. We sincerely suggest you save this issue. We feel you will treasure it in time to come. That was really, really good advice. I hope everybody who got this issue held on to it. Not everybody did, but that was really good advice because it's worth a couple dollars nowadays. The mighty Marvel Comics group is proud to announce that Jack Kirby drew the original Captain America during the golden age of comics, and now he draws it again. Also, Stan Lee's first script during those fabled days was Captain America, and now he authors it again. Thus, the Chronicle of Comicdom turns full circle, reaching a new pinnacle of greatness. So this was a new pinnacle of greatness. And it starts off with another Golden Age character, the Submariner, who's just causing trouble again. The Submariner's always causing trouble. And he's fighting off the entire Avengers, which he can do because he's the Submariner. And he wanders onto the ice after, having a hissy fit under the water. And he runs into these natives of this area. And they seem to be worshiping this guy that's frozen in a hunk of ice. Because if you find a guy just floating in a hunk of ice, I guess you take him out of the ice and just worship him. I guess. Anyway, they chipped him out of the ice and they worship this figure as a god. And the Submariner's like, who's this guy? I'm the one you should be worshiping. I'm Submariner. And he just tosses him into the water where he slowly melts. And the Avengers are in their submarine at this time. And looking out the window of their submarine, it's an advanced submarine. And they see this guy floating around. And so Giant Man just reaches out and grabs him. And it turns out to be Captain America. Captain America, who was frozen all this time. And Iron Man takes out his mask and he's like, and his face mask with the proud letter A on it. It must be him. And the Wasp is floating around his face, being all creepy. And she's like, all of you, listen, he isn't dead. He's breathing. His eyes, they're flickering. Now, of course, if any of us were frozen in a big block of ice, that would kill us. But because of Steve Rogers' super soldier serum, which makes him so durable, getting frozen in ice, that's nothing for this guy. It just puts him in suspended animation. But he wakes up all freaked out, and he's screaming, Bucky, Bucky, look out, Bucky! And he tears into the Avengers. He's all confused. And then he realizes, wait a minute, where the hell am I? And then he crumples onto the ground and says it's useless. I remember now. He is dead. He is. And nothing on earth can change that. Now, this must have been a surprise to readers who remembered Captain America and Bucky. And there were plenty of readers who did because, they were popular just 20 years before. And Bucky, as far as I'm aware, never died in the original Golden Age comic book. So this is news, that he's dead. And he's like, where am I? What's going on? And so he puts on his costume and they're like, are you really Captain America? Is this some kind of trick? He's like, I've no need of tricks. Test me. Try to conquer me. And so Thor throws his hammer at him and can't get him. So this is where Jack Kirby really excels, of course. Fantastic action. And one thing that the Captain America comic book had a lot of with Jack Kirby, and that was action, man. This was an action-packed strip. And we have that in his introduction in the Avengers. They are convinced fairly quickly that this is the actual Captain America. And then he begins his story, Captain America does, of the last thing he really remembers. And we get this flashback to a comic book that did not exist. So we're getting a flashback to a scene that we never saw as comic book readers. This is the first time that this particular story has been told. And this tells about how Captain America and Bucky, wearing their coveralls, which are covering their secret superhero suits, are chasing this plane that is filled with explosives, and they want to try to defuse the explosives. But everything goes wrong. Captain America falls off the plane, and into the ocean where he is frozen. But before that, as he's falling, the plane explodes and Bucky dies. That's the death of Bucky. Now, Bucky was dead for years and years. You know, in comic books, no one's ever really dead, but for decades, Bucky was really dead. I mean, every time Bucky came back, and of course he did, he was either somebody else, he was either an imposter or a robot, or he's, Rick Jones pretending to be Bucky. Bucky never really came back. And it was that way, like I said, until Winter Soldier in the comic books, Winter Soldier. And now Bucky's just back. But like I said, for decades, Bucky was really, really dead, And so that was very traumatizing to Captain America. I mean, you can see him right there. He's traumatized. But he's got to get over it. And it takes him a while to get over it, frankly. And they end up in New York. The Avengers walk out before Captain America. And then someone uses a particularly strange camera on them. And they all turn to stone. They all turn into statues. So that when Captain America comes out of the submarine, he's like, everyone is gone. The pier is deserted. But why would they dash off without me? And why are these strange statues of the Avengers here? Man, they must be really popular. So Captain America, he just doesn't get it. He was in the submarine for a few minutes longer, doing who knows what. And when he comes out, the Avengers are gone. Everybody's gone. They've all run off. And there are these statues of the Avengers. So he's left all on his own. He runs across a traffic policeman who recognizes him immediately. I guess not just because of his costume, because he recognizes him as a person because he saw him when he was a kid. And the cop says, wait, I know you. You're, no, it can't be. It's impossible. But I can't be wrong. I saw you once when I was a kid. I never forgot it. And here we have the scene where Captain America says, no, officer, you're not mistaken. I am Captain America. And the officer takes out his hanky. And all these years, all of us, your fans, all your admirers, we thought you were dead. But you've come back just when the world has need of such a man. Just like fate planned it that way. Just like fate planned it. Or Stan Lee, as the case may be. And so, Captain America, he is directed to a nearby hotel, and he's watching television, and he's like, man, this television thing's awesome. He falls asleep, and he wakes up, and he sees Bucky return, and he's all freaked out. But it turns out it's not Bucky. It's Rick Jones who looks him up after he heard about Captain America returning and the Avengers are gone. Rick Jones, who is a professional sidekick to various superheroes, decides, hey, I'm going to look this guy up and, see what's the deal with this guy and if he could lead me to the real Avengers. And Captain America's like, it's unbelievable. You're like his twin brother. Your voice, face, everything. You could be Bucky's double. And Bucky's like, listen, fella, you're a nut. Can you just tell me where the Avengers are? And he's like, I don't know. He says, and he mentions the Hulk. He says, I don't know who the Hulk is, lad, but if the Avengers are missing, I'll be glad to help you find them. And so Bucky and Captain America, or I should say Rick Jones and Captain America, are on the case to find the missing Avengers. And they look up some photographs that were taken at the time, and they see this strange guy with this gun-looking thing, which doesn't look like a camera at all. He must not have looked suspicious at all in that crowd. Anyway, they figure out who this guy is. They track him down with their, I guess, great detective skills. And there he is there. Captain America crashes through the window, fights a bunch of guys, tears into them. Captain America is, like I said, here we have some awesome Jack Kirby Captain America action scenes. And Jack Kirby, I have to say, by this point in his career, has improved dramatically from his earlier Golden Age Captain America issues. So this is fantastic stuff. And it turns out that this particular guy who turned the Avengers into stone, he's actually a giant asparagus from outer space. So he's a giant asparagus, and he crash landed on the Earth, and he's been here, for centuries, I guess. And he's actually, this giant asparagus is the guy who influenced the legend of Medusa by turning people into stone all the time. Seems an odd hobby, but what do you do? So he goes and he unstones the Avengers, and they're going to help him retrieve his spaceship and repair it and take it home, which they do. But then they run into the Submariner and have to have a battle with the Submariner. Because, the Submariner, he's just always causing trouble at this time. Just a big troublemaker. And so he's battling them. We have this cool scene of Thor. And so this is where Captain America could really check out the Avengers and see them in action against this guy who Captain America, you would think, would recognize, because Captain America and the Submariner, as we find out, knew each other in the golden age of comics. So he should know exactly who the Submariner is, but for some reason, he doesn't recognize the Submariner. He's like, who is this guy? And then finally, Captain America, after watching this battle long enough, decides to take a hand in it. And he runs into the Submariner, and Submariner picks him up like he's nothing. And the Submariner doesn't recognize Captain America. So I could kind of understand Captain America not recognizing the Submariner, because he's just been frozen, and maybe he's got brain damage or something. Maybe his memory isn't firing on all cylinders. But why on earth doesn't the Submariner recognize Captain America? Because he doesn't seem to. All very odd. I'm sure this was retconned or explained at some point in the future. I'm not sure when. The asparagus from outer space, who is also Medusa, flies away in his spaceship, which is now all fine. And Captain America officially joins the Avengers. So the plot of this story is ridiculous. I admit there is some ridiculousness in this plot regarding regarding the asparagus from space. Whenever Stan Lee needed a villain really quickly and he couldn't think of one like super fast or whatever, he just made the villain an alien. And this is what they did. He made the villain in this issue an alien who needed to go back home and needed apparently the Avengers to do it. Steve Donoghue in his video, I'm sure, will poke holes in the realistic plot of this story, but that's okay. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was great to see Captain America come back. I'm sure for everybody. I like it. I think it's an awesome issue. Of course I like it. I'm going to default to thinking it's awesome, but full of great Jack Kirby artwork. Lots of action. Captain America returns, joins the Avengers, fights Submariner, whom he does not recognize. It's great. It's an awesome issue and a fantastic return of Captain America. After this, Captain America, like I said, became very popular again in the 1960s. I think Captain America was one of the best things that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did in the 1960s. They did some great stuff, but that Captain America comic was awesome. So there you go. Captain America lives again. Be sure to check out Steve Donoghue later. He should should have a video up on Avengers number 4. And that is all I've got. I will catch you next time.